What's going on, guys? Welcome back to part 3 of the Predator 500 video. In this video we're going to be installing a new intake, the freshly cleaned carburetor, putting the airbox and everything back on, and then go ahead and getting it running for the first time since we've done all the work to it. So let's go ahead and get into it and get this thing wrapped up. We're going to start with putting the new intake on. The old one did have some dry rot cracking, so we went ahead and replaced it. Trying to make sure this thing gives him a long time of runnability. Let's get the intake on. Let's go ahead and grab the carburetor. These can be a little tricky with this little brass insert that goes on the end of your throttle cable. I've obviously done it a couple times. So now that we've got the throttle cable reassembled, we can go ahead and put our choke plunger back in, which goes on the opposite side of this one. Alright, so now we've got our choke and our throttle assembly all reinstalled. We can go ahead and pop it back into the intake. Go ahead and check the throttle for free play. You need to make sure nothing's binding. You want a good even pull. Nice snap back. Alright. So I'm actually going to leave the fuel line disconnected for a minute. Since this thing has been sitting for so long, I want to go ahead and get the fuel tank back on it, get some fresh fuel in it, and go ahead and pump everything through. These Polarises actually use a front mounted vacuum pump. So if you don't clean all the old gas out, a lot of times it'll leave some buildup. So we're gonna go ahead and get this fuel system flushed out, and then we'll actually be ready to start this thing for the first time. So now that we've got airbox, cover, carburetor, intake, and everything back in this machine, like I said, I'm gonna go ahead and put the gas tank on, flush all the old fuel out, and then we'll be back and ready to start this up for the first time. So I actually just went out of film just to go ahead and dump all the old gas out of this tank. So now I'm gonna go ahead and slide the new tank back in, and we're gonna refill it with fresh fuel, and then we're gonna crank this for a few minutes just to let all of the built up gas in the line and the fuel pump get kind of pushed out. So now that we've got a nice flow of fuel coming from our fuel line, I'm gonna just kind of let it run for a second, just make sure we don't have anything left in. So once we get the line drained, we'll go ahead and hook it back to the carburetor, and then we're actually ready to see if this thing will start. So it's got the fuel line back on. We're gonna go ahead and choke it and see what happens. Looks like the battery is a little bit weak from sitting. We're going to call that a successful first start. Obviously, this still needs a little bit of tuning and a little bit of help. This thing has been sitting for quite some time, though, so that's to be expected. But first fire up, it does run. So we're going to go ahead and get this thing finished up. Next time you guys see it, it'll actually be running and riding. So now that I've got idle set and the carburetor roughly tuned in, I'm gonna go ahead and take it for its first test drive. So now that you guys seen that it does run, it does ride, we're ready to send it back out to the customer. Even though cosmetically this thing's not perfect, it's actually far from, but mechanically it checks out, it runs, it rides, is obvious. I really don't have a whole lot else to say about it other than it does run and it does ride. So to conclude this 3-part series, if you guys liked these videos or found anything interesting in any of them, please consider subscribing or maybe just sticking around and see what we work on next. Thanks for watching.